Welcome back to Washington Watch. I'm Tony Perkins, your host, the website, tonyperkins.com. So good to have you with us. Good to be back behind the microphone. Earlier today, by an overwhelming 67-2 vote, the South Dakota House of Representatives sent back to the Governor Kristi Noem, her style-informed veto of House Bill 1217, the Fairness in Women's Sports Act. Well, shortly after that, Governor Noem again returned the bill to the legislature, saying she could not sign it. And the House, I understand, just moments ago, refused to override the veto, falling a few votes short of that. Joining me now to talk about the latest development in South Dakota is the author of the bill, Representative Rhonda Milstead. Rhonda, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
All right, give us the latest. What just transpired there on the floor of the South Dakota House?
Well, we strongly debated the bill. We had good testimony on the bill, but we fell 2 votes short of overriding the veto. And actually, we had 52 votes in February. Now we had 45, which is 2 votes short. And the unfortunate thing is there is nothing about that bill that has weakened. It still carries all the same protections and fairness. So understanding why people would switch their vote, other than they were lobbied very hard by the governor to oppose the bill. And that's a disappointing part. When you keep hearing this message that I'm all over fairness in sports, why would you fight it?
Right. Well, the governor may have been successful in sustaining her veto, but I'm not so sure she sustained her conservative credentials because, as you said, this is a bill, common sense bill. Mississippi's passed a bill like this. Idaho has passed a bill like this. Arkansas has passed a bill simply protecting women's sports, that if you're a biological male, you cannot participate in female sports. What's hard about that?
It's common sense, and people out on the street, actually South Dakotans, that's insanity to them that we would even be considering something like this. And for us to have to come back on veto day, that's the only thing that was on our plate was that. It just doesn't even make sense. I think, I testified on the floor that there were multiple, twice as many organizations that have family values, that have some very good core values, some faith values, and they are 100% behind this. But you had 5 organizations that weren't. And so those are the organizations saying, you know what, it's all about the dollar, it's all about our image, and that's unfortunate. And that's what we let those people dictate to us what our values should be. And that's unfortunate. South Dakota is a state that has integrity. People are moving here because of our integrity, and I think we've let them down.
So who are those groups that essentially we saw the governor and others sell out to?
Oh, gosh, the Women's Human Rights Coalition, the Wolf Women's Liberation Front, Concerned Women of America, American Principles Project, Alliance Defending Freedom.
Now, those are all the ones on the right side of the issue that wanted to see this bill go through. But who were the ones lobbying to kill this bill in South Dakota?
Well, originally in committee, the ones lobbying were the Chamber of Commerce, the Sports Authority, the Board of Regents, the school district, the Athletic Association. They were lobbying against it. But over the past week, it's the governor's office itself that has been lobbying very hard on legislatures to get them to accept a weak bill and then not override another bill. Some legislators were getting 3 and 4 calls, just consistent, to not go along with this.
So, Representative Milstead, what was the motivation here for the governor? And the style-informed veto, it simply took out the teeth of it, so it only applied to secondary education. Elementary, secondary education did not touch college-level sports. So what was the driver behind the governor here vetoing this legislation?
Well, I guess the things that came out that she said originally, she thought it was a poorly written bill. Wasn't a poorly written bill. The bill was kind of a template that came from Alliance Defending Freedom that was tweaked by our own Legislative Research Council. It's a bill that is very similar to others that have been passed, Idaho, a year ago. So the bill was well vetted. It wasn't poorly written. But then later on, she was opposing it because she thought we would be challenged in court. The NCAA would challenge us. She thought there'd be legal challenges. But it was a defensible bill. And taking the teeth out of the bill, not only that, but there was originally we put in that you had to fill out a form indicating your sex and sorry, I'm not remembering the other things. There were 3 things that you had to identify, but one of them was your sex. And so she changed that to a birth certificate. Well, in the state of South Dakota, if you want to change your birth certificate, you can.
Right. Very quickly, so what's next for the effort to protect women's sports in South Dakota?
I think we'll have to wait till next year and introduce something again.
Wow.
But we'll start working on it again. Hope that she'll not be an absent executive and participate in the process with us instead of waiting till the last week.
Wow, how tragic. Well, you put forth a valiant effort, and so did the majority of members of the South Dakota legislature. So, Representative Milstead, thanks so much for your efforts, and thanks for joining us here today.
Thank you, and thank you for what you're doing. We appreciate it.
All right, thanks so much, Rhonda.